Hello, everybody. How are we doing today? I hope you are all well. Welcome back to another edition of the Young Legacy League. Today, we have got an epic man. His name is Bob Doyle. He's featured on The Secret. How cool is that? So I've actually got somebody here right now who has been featured on The Secret, which is I've had a lot of interest in because it's all about the law of attraction, and I think I've only just scratched the surface. I have dabbled in the thoughts of law of attraction, and it has worked out for me, and it hasn't worked out for me. So hopefully Bob can clear up that for me. The reason why the whole purpose of the show title is being kids, you can have anything you want. Now, may raise a few eyebrows if you're a parent watching this, but there's obviously a secret. There it is, a pun again. A secret behind this. I would kindly like to introduce Bob, who has yet another #1 best-selling book, which is The Wealth Beyond Reason. And I'm so stoked, so excited to have him on. Such an honor to have him coming live all the way from Vegas. So without further ado, everybody watching this, let's get him on. Bob, hello there, sir.
Look at that. Just out of nowhere. Digital.
Whoa. Goodness gracious me, how cool is this? What's going on, dude? You good?
What's that? I'm sorry, you dropped out for just a second.
Oh, no worries. I just asked, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. Happy to be here. I love that you're having conversations with kids about this stuff, because back in the day, like when my kids were teenagers, I was super passionate and very vocal about a lot of this. So it's good to kind of revisit it.
Well, I think we need to give kids a lot of options and a lot of broader spectrum of what's out there and what they can have access to. And I know that that's something that you agree with as well, because there was something on here recently. I was watching you, and you said that if you want children to have access or have what they want, then you've got to experience that yourself. I always say that if you want your child to have self-belief, you have to demonstrate that first, and they need to see that. They need to see self-belief in action. So there's no saying, oh, I'm overweight, or I'm really fat, or I'm so poor, in front of the kids, because they're going to pick up on that.
Yeah, pick it up. It's blatant. Yeah. And the incongruence between what parents say and do is obviously the kids, they know that, they see that, and it's not going to land with them if they don't have an example. Now, that is not true across the board, because I have met plenty of kids who transcend the beliefs and the values of their parents. They're just plugged in a different way. They just see things, they're conscious, and they're not impacted by that. But it's, for the most part, just because of how our brains work and how we're wired, we are heavily influenced, by our parents. And so they might watch The Secret and get excited. And then back when it first came out, I got this question all the time. How do we teach this to our kids? Do we show them The Secret? And I'm like, you can do that, but you have to be a living example. You cannot tell them that they can have the life they want and not have it. It makes no sense. They'll just be like, yeah, whatever, mom, or whatever, dad, whoever. So it's up to us first as adults to lead by example, and not just hope that our kids can have better. We deserve better too. We as adults deserve to have what we want as well. And we're all off track for very logical reasons, that this is a return to sort of our natural state. But with kids, we have a rare opportunity to prevent them from going down the same road that most adults that I end up coaching went down.
Well, it's an expression I like to use. It's a lot easier to build stronger kids than it is to fix broken adults. That being said, you say you work a lot with adults, which is amazing. It's almost as if we want children to develop, and we want children to go down this path, or if they choose to. And if parents think that's a good idea, then it's fantastic. But sometimes, parents, it's taken they could be alive and they could be on this planet for a long time, so therefore they've got a lot of crap to get out of their head, so they can get out their own way, so they can experience this, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's true. We as my primary conversation these days in this I've been 20 years I've been doing this, and the bulk of it I was talking about energy and vibration and all that law of attraction stuff. But recently, past year and a half or so, I've been focusing on the wiring of our brain. A few reasons. Number one, that is where everything happens. That's how we experience this reality. Everything is, we make meaning out of it through our brain. So this is where we should begin. It's also where our belief systems are. It determines whether or not we're going to take action on a thing. And all of that gets wired as children, and we're not conscious about it. We're just letting it all in. And so if we're not being conscious, then we do tend to take on the beliefs and all those other things and habits and everything of the people around us, because there's no reason not to. If we're not evaluating, well, I think this is good for my, future. There's none of that. So by the time you're adults, you've got, decades of this wiring, and you are very clear on what your truth is about reality. And you're looking through a very specific lens that is not the same as the lens that I look through or anybody else looks through. It's 100% unique. It's like a fingerprint, because we've all had different experiences. We share common wiring, beliefs about things in general, but we can definitely see where we don't. We see it out there. And when one group of people has a certain wiring around an issue and another group has another set of wiring, well, these people call these people idiots, and vice versa. They'll never see each other's point of view, because their wiring is it's just not designed to do it. And so we have this conflict. The tragedy, I guess, is that we have learned generationally all these limitations. This is hard. This is easy. You have to deserve this. All those things that I deal with adults, we've learned them. None of them are true. They're just belief systems that have been passed on. And because they've been belief systems, and once they get wired in a person, it becomes their truth. So they act according to their truth. So if they're not getting results in their lives, it's because they're not taking action congruent and are in alignment with getting results. And there's a reason that they're stopping themselves from doing it, and it's all in their wiring. So if someone wants to change their lives dramatically as an adult, it's going to be a lot harder than teaching a kid from the beginning to just always build that wiring that way instead of undoing. Because as an adult, we have to build new neuroplasticity has to happen to create new neural pathways. That's what I was trying to say. And then the old ones have to wither. So it's a lot harder. But see, and then that brings up the other issue. And I think you mentioned it earlier, is like adults have hit or miss results with this law of attraction thing, because they maybe saw The Secret and they go, oh, okay, all I got to do is close my eyes and think about something and boom. Right. Well, that's clearly not what it's about. It's more complicated than that. I mean, there is some really cool stuff, and it can occur that manifestations can take place very quickly. But as humans, we've been wired to expect things right now, and it needs to work in a week, or this is all nonsense, that type. But that all is just wiring. And if we didn't have that wiring of expectation and attachment and all these other things, we would, as a whole, sort of manifest our reality a lot easier. But we've got all this stuff that stops us.
You have said everything that I say in adult language. What I say to my clients.
I didn't know there was going to be adult language on this show.
Phew. God, my goodness me, we're going to be in trouble. Well, it is true. It is true. Our wiring, if you call it whatever you want to call it, Dr. Bruce Lipton said it was the imprint phase between 0 to 7, call it whatever level you want. But then again, we have to learn those certain things. And if our mentor, dad and mom, tell us one thing, then that must what we must do to survive. We must do this to survive. And obviously, we've got to believe this about these people. We've got to believe this about running across the road. We've got to believe this about not spitting in that person's face. Whatever. And it's a survival thing, right? And this is what we do. However, are they wrong? Are they right? It's just their own belief. And I know you don't like the word beliefs. Or believing in this, but we're going to get to that in a second. But you're dead right. And again, it's like that expectation and attachment. And you so touched on instant gratification just there, and entitlement, I think we can talk about too. People want things yesterday. I mean, people wait for series to come out on Netflix just so they can binge watch. People, want next day delivery. People want to complete a computer game really, really, whatever. They want things really, really quick. But the two things I believe, I don't know how you feel about this, but the two things that I believe that are the most vital things on this planet that any human can strive for and work hard for is building relationships and living or working towards a purpose or something they really love doing passionately. And who knows, could get paid for it. And I think that's the jackpot.
I certainly think those are definite part of quality of life, for sure. I mean, we're here to enjoy the experience of being a human. We were born with this nervous system and endocrine system and the feels and our emotions, and we have good ones and we have not so good ones. We're a part of this ever expanding universe, which is all about expansion and increasing of life. So we're definitely meant to grow and expand and take on new things and follow the passions that are unique to us, so that the universe, if you will, can experience itself through us, through this unique physicality that we have. So I absolutely believe we're all meant to do what we want to do. That's why we have the desire to do it, and it's different from the next person and the next person. But and we are designed for it to be a lot more effortless than it is. Kids are in a great position to start these principles, right? Before they get jaded, before they start taking on these other beliefs. If they could learn the basics of how all this works and how thoughts become things and all of these things, that would be much better than becoming jaded and cynical and then having to undo that to work so hard to get an open mind later. But even when a person sort of wakes up, even when an adult has breakthroughs, there's still so much wiring that's going to pop up for every now and then. They're going to feel like, oh, I got this, I beat this. And then maybe something else will trigger something that they thought they'd gotten through, but it just activated another neural pathway. And so then they get frustrated. They're like, oh, I thought I had this. There's no need for frustration. Every time you run into that, it's a gift, because you go, okay, now I'm aware of that type of my wiring, and this is wiring that I'm going to now consciously change. Now with kids, it's not, what we hope to do is minimize the amount of unwiring that has to happen, and let them understand that they have these passions for a reason, and cultivate that rather than squash it, when they get into school or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely 100%. So let's pretend, because I think it was Einstein that said, if you cannot explain what you're passionate about, what you love doing, what you're great at, to a 4-year-old, you don't know anything about the subject. So let's pretend we are talking to a bunch of 10-year-olds, let's say. How would you define, or how would you say or explain to them the secret or that?
Well, that's a great question, because here's the thing. Explaining this stuff to them, how it all works, blah, 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 that's an adult thing. We need to understand. We need to know exactly, how does all this work? I'm sorry, they don't need to know. And it's just going to confuse them. What they need they just need to know how to look at their life. They need to know how to feel about themselves each day. They need to practice self-love. They need to honor their passions. They need to express themselves creatively. They don't need to know how it freaking works. That's what complicates this whole thing. Well, I read that it works this way. Well, I read that it works this way. Well, and then no one gets anywhere. Right. So it's like, back to the basics. I would say to a child, as soon as they're old enough to read The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles, they should read it. I don't know if there's like a kid's version for that. Someone should do
it. There you go. Quickly get that one down,
because it really is. I have been strongly recommending it to my adult clients these days, because I revisited it a couple of years ago, and it's all in there. Yeah, it's all in there. Exactly what to do and exactly why. And of course it's a repeated reading thing. I mean, I get new stuff from it every time. But once you get it, you understand that, we've been programmed as adults to justify dwelling on negative emotions, holding grudges, being angry, worrying, and stressing. We've learned that, this situation happens, we should feel this way. Again, there's nothing true about that. That's just how we've been programmed. We ultimately have a choice to feel great about just about any situation if we so choose. Right? We can find the good in things. It's not to say that we won't have negative emotions. We absolutely will, and we should. It's part of our makeup. It gives us the contrast. It helps us to say, hey, maybe we need to pivot somewhere, or we're just naturally processing emotion as part of being a human being. If we lose someone with death or whatever. But even that is cultural. Some cultures celebrate death as a transition, to moving on, whereas we find it sad. So it would be really weird to tell a kid, in America, hey, grandma passed on, let's have a party, right? That's not how we have been introduced to that concept, but it doesn't make their way any better than ours, or vice versa.
Yeah. And that's a wiring, like you say.
Yeah.
Sorry. And that's a wiring. Like,
yeah. So we have accumulated delay between us all of a sudden.
Oh,
I don't know how it happened, but now it's like 2 seconds or 3 seconds. So we'll just have to let each
Oh,
other finish. And
okay. So the question, not how or why or whatever, it's perhaps let's explain a story or a situation with regard to, if that makes sense.
okay,
So,
let me not. I just won't. I won't totally blow off the question.
okay.
So, if they were to watch The Secret or something like that, and this whole concept of, thoughts becoming things and visualization, that type of thing, it's again, I really, it's really like, it's the way I'm explaining it to adults is the way that I would explain it now. If you behave a certain way, if you believe certain thoughts about yourself, then other people are going to tend to believe that way too and be in alignment with you if you own it, if it's really what you believe. And so the things that you want in your life will come to you more easily because you're, number one, authentically communicating with the rest of the world. Again, I'm using adult language, and there's a reason I coach adults instead of children. Because I don't, it's like that's one of those things that's for other people to do. I love children, and I love to mess with their heads and be sarcastic and make them laugh, but trying to explain the heady stuff to them, it's like, I have such an adult thought process about this. But basically my message to kids is be yourself. Be yourself, celebrate yourself, and hopefully that they're in an environment where that is supported, to understand that all the things they think and feel and want to do are a gift to them. And that if they do those things, life is going to work. Life is going to work for them. But the problem is when you start telling them, well, this is how this works, then they start trying things. And then if it doesn't work, they think it's them. And I'm telling you, we just don't, and adults, none of us need to know how all this works. We need to know now because we're so fragmented and so, off course, that we need to understand how this all works and why we got off track, and a little bit of the energetics and all of that stuff is helpful. But to some people, but not to everybody. Our natural state is to be born, have passions, explore them, express ourselves creatively, do what we're here to do. And then you fit into this big machine where everybody else is doing that too, and we're all happy. But very quickly we get off track with, a kid for the most part, once a kid gets into school where there's that structure, and you have to be this, you have to be this, you have to be this, and this is what you're going to learn, and this is what's a good job, this is what's a bad job, all of that. That's when it gets confusing. And I truly believe that is at the root of a lot of the teenage angst that is out there. Because by the time they become teenagers and their brains are a little bit developed, they realize that they don't feel like they have any control in their life, that they can't do what they want to do. They get in trouble for being who they really just truly want to be as they express themselves. And of course, they're going to be angry. I get angry as an adult when someone tells me I can't be what I want to be or do what I want to do. It's because we're here to do it. And so if authority figures all around us are telling you you can't do that, yeah, rebellion is going to happen. And so to me, the state of things is natural. And I'm just going to say this one other thing, even though you didn't ask about it. Yeah. But I have 3 kids, and they all went through the teenage years. My youngest went through, he's 20. So the past 8 years, he's been living in this world of technology and all of this, where everybody's getting on kids for being on their devices and, oh, you're doing too much of this. Well, the thing is, it's here to stay. And the problem that we as adults have with it is we don't know how to deal with this world that we created for them. We created technology that is absolutely going to fragment their brains, going to give them short attention spans, right? Now, that's one part of it. But on another level, like kids who play these games, they have such a different level of thinking, critical thinking, problem solving, stuff we'll never grasp. It's just because we're not wired that way. But through the interaction with the technology, their brains are wired differently. Now, we as adults are telling them, you can't pay attention in school. You're this label, you're this label. You play too many video games, because we can't handle the fact that they have evolved into a different form of learning than we did, which wasn't that great and didn't allow us to express our passions and so on, and caused a lot of trouble because everybody learns differently. We live in a world now where we literally have the technology where kids can learn however they best learn, but we're still sending them down that path. And so, it's none of the stuff that's going on with teenagers now is surprising me. The depression, the suicides, and all of those things, because now more than ever, they're being told they have a problem, that they're bad, whatever. They can't focus, they misbehave, they get put on freaking drugs.
Yeah.
but we have presented this environment to them. They didn't, as kids, go, I'm going to just be irresponsible and fragment. No, we did this. We gave them the device to play with. They know how to do this. So their brain is totally different than ours. And we do not have a structure for them to learn in yet. It's happening. But right now, a lot of kids are feeling really depressed and devalued, and they feel stupid. They whatever, like, I got a problem. No, they're probably freaking geniuses, smarter than any of the people telling them they got a problem, but they don't have anybody to teach them correctly.
Yeah. I completely agree. That's why I left the education industry, because I was a teacher for 12 years. And that's why I left, because it wasn't teaching the kids that what I believe the right things. It was more focused on result driven as opposed to child focus driven. And it was just disastrous. I mean, since this education system began in industrial revolution, or whatever you want to call it, cars have changed, relationships changed, houses have changed, technology's changed. Has education changed, or is that still the same? Nope. So they're exactly the same, and we're just spewing out all these kids that we say, actually, what do you want to be when you're older? I want to be this. Ooh, maybe come down a little bit. So I know. Nourish them every single chance you get. Nourish them to give them whatever they want to do. In fact, I'm the opposite. If they say, "Oh, I want to do this," what is that? It? No, you can go for this. You can go for this. I probably shouldn't, but it's what I do.
No, I think that's good. Yeah, look, it's because expanding your thinking is great. I mean, as a coach, that's what I'm trying to do. That's literally what I'm doing, is helping people to build new wiring, to expand the way that they view things, so that they have options and don't feel like, well, this is the only option I have in this situation or whatever. So they can tap into their natural creativity.
Yes, 100%, absolutely 100%. So a very naive or arrogant interpretation of The Secret, when it first popped into my mind, was oh, I want a beautiful girlfriend. I'm gonna visualize. I want £1,000. I'm gonna think about it every day, and then just see what happens. Maybe that's partly right. Maybe I'm missing a few tricks here. The reason why I said what I said earlier was because I had a wonderful conversation with some ladies who teach this, who are coaches as well. They're twins, and I had a thought. I thought, okay, let's check out this law of attraction thing. Let's see what happens. So I did, and I did my visualization, and it was all around finances. And now I had Bob. I had a horrific relationship with money, horrific, and it all stemmed from a memory of my mom. Now, I love my mom to pieces. I would do anything for her. No disrespect to mom at all whatsoever. But there was a memory that happened, and that went doink, and it got discovered about 2 years ago. And I thought, whoa, this is why I'm, attracting only this much into my life, as opposed to that. And then one day I thought, right, the end of this week, I want to have £1,000 in my bank account. And 2 days later, I sold a package for £1,000 to a client. It was so bizarre. It just came to me and just said, well, you can go for the highest offer if you want to. And said, yeah, we'll go for it. I'm like, and inside, Bob, I was trying to contain myself. I'm not being a giddy school kid going, rah!
Why? You should have. You celebrate, dance in the gratitude. That's, if more people did that, they'd manifest more.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Gratitude is the superpower.
Yeah. Well, I think it is, and I only think that helps me. So I'm not going to sit here and preach, I'm positive all the time, toxic positivity. There are times when I'm a bit sad, which is an emotion, which is understandable. But gratitude, like you say, that helps me, like, doink, change that thought process, because, like you say, and I agree with this, it's a choice. It's a choice. There's something that's going around here in the UK, which is, it's okay not to be okay. That's fine, but I don't like it. I think it's okay not to be okay, but not to stay. It's your choice if you want to progress out of that mindset, if that wiring, that neuropathway, whatever you want to call it. You have a choice to put a positive reframe onto it.
It's true, but they got to want to have that choice. We cannot want it for them, and we can't judge them for not wanting it.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like that's the tricky part about this is, like, again, a very common question is, can I attract something for someone else? And I'm like, this is not appropriate. You're not, no matter what they say. All right, I'm going to back up and give you an answer about the law of attraction thing. So the normal definition out there is like attracts like and stuff like that. Well, I got huge problems with that one in terms of trying to explain it to people and make it seem logical to an intelligent person, because there's too many things you can point out that says, well, those two things are alike, they're not attracting. What about opposites attract? So I think it's lame, and I think it's like personal development. Try to make it soft and squishy. So the way that I always explained it in my science, in my more, when I was talking this way, is that we attract into our experience those things with which we are in vibrational alignment. Very grown up, right? But that's after a conversation around how we're all energy and everything is vibration and it attracts, and there's dissonance and resonance and all of that. So see, that's why I don't talk to kids with the definition, because they're like, what? But basically that means that to move, and I go on to say that to move into vibrational alignment with something, you need to be able to move into the feeling of having it now. Right. So it's all about the feeling. When it comes down to the energy, invisible woo-woo stuff, it's our emotions that create that vibe. And then we feel it. I mean, it makes sense that that's how it does. And that's the signal that's being sent out. But here's the thing. Everything's being sent. What you're saying and what you're feeling inside too. So I had a very similar situation to you in terms of money. I learned my money habits and beliefs from my mom, who was a single teacher, a single mother and a teacher. So there wasn't a lot of money. And I always learned that money was hard to come by, and it didn't matter if you liked your job, you just got to go do it. So when I first started, trying to change my life, it was like, I want this, I want that, I want this. But inside I still had all those other beliefs. And it wasn't until I got into the sort of the quantum physics of our thoughts to understand that, hey, that's real energy and it's going to have an impact, that I thought, okay, well, I need to address the inner stuff. So much of it is about being willing to be honest about what you truly believe and what you truly think, instead of trying to put on a show about how positive you are all the time. Because unless you deal with that wiring, unless you own the fact that you've got that going on that is causing you to react negatively, which, by the way, there's the energy part, and then there's the action part in real life. So yes, all this energy stuff is at play, but how it shows up is how you be. So the whole thing about, when people learn about this, oh, I want this, they're trying to figure out what they want to attract. Most of the time, they're trying to figure that out from who they are right now, which is, anxious or worried or scared or, whatever. They need something to change. You want to create a vision for your future from a place of an empowered version of you. The first thing to get clear on is not what you want. It is who you're going to be, period. That person is qualified to decide the best future for yourself. Because when you create from sort of longing or wanting or yearning or any of that, it's a totally different vibe, and it's probably not going to work that great, because it's your vibration is permeated with this, and I'm trying to solve a problem. So the whole time you're saying, I've got a problem. So you just keep getting more of that, because you're going to act in alignment with that belief. You have to become the empowered version of yourself. That's the harder part, but everybody skips it. And then they wonder why they get hit and miss results, because they're not even desiring from an authentic place.
So interesting. And it's when what you've just said just there, Bob, it's coming from a place of lack. So if you keep vibrating in the realm of like lack and not having, then that's all you're going to have. Whereas you say, and I think this is dead right, and you've tweaked me a little bit just here, because you've given me a bit of a nudge up here. You've got to feel it. You've got to be in the moment. You've got to act or be as if it was already part of your life. And I think that was it. I think that was it for me. And again, I'm not sure what about the science. I'm not sure about the worldly view. I don't. Frankly, I think we shouldn't care about that. I think we should just like live it, and we should just experience it, and we should give ourselves an option to play with it. So if there's a child here that wants to be in a band or in a particular position in a choir or in a football team, I don't really know. Instead of being more like, oh God, I wish I was playing that, I really want to play with that. Oh God. Instead of that, it's like almost imagine that you are playing with that on that team in that position. And I think what helped me is that just because I imagined it every single day, visualized it, and really felt myself in that zone, see it, feel it, hear it, taste it, touch it, whatever. I began to behave in a way as a person that is worth that position. or that whatever.
Absolutely. And then that's how you got $1,000 client, because
Yeah.
you showed up as a person who is in alignment with getting $1,000 clients. And look, it may be in something that you said or how you said it, but there's also, we all know that we can feel each other, even if you don't believe any of this stuff. People understand when you walk into a room and there's bad vibes, right? No one's saying anything, but you can feel it thick like a fog, right?
Yeah.
So that invisible, and it happens over email, and it happens over video, and it just happens. It's because we're all connected, and you can believe it or not, but you all know, you've all had that experience.
Yeah.
So that being how you show up. My example is when I was in network marketing, when I was flailing around years ago trying to find a career. And I knew the products, and they were fine. And I knew the compensation plan. I could speak like, man, I should be a gazillionaire in this company. But on the inside, I was like, I've got to get some money. I need an organization. You have to join me, right? Even though there was no trace of that on the outside. However, I struggled like crazy, a lot more than other people who were not nearly as slick as I was in the presentation, right? Because they had an authentic experience that they were sharing from. I just wanted to make money. And people picked that up. And I wasn't slimy about it. I wasn't gross about it. It was just, there was clearly an area and an energy of desperation in there somewhere. So you got to be mindful of that.
Wow.
And so when you powerfully become this person, not aspire to be, not as one day I will be, no, now, right now, you get to decide. And you just try on acting as if you are that person. It's going to feel really unnatural at first, very uncomfortable. Why? Because of the wiring. You're literally changing your brain, and everything if we're conscious and we look back, everything that we learned has a bit of discomfort. Walking and talking and new skills, there's discomfort. But we don't think about it that way. It's just, this is part of life. I have to do this. When it comes to our desires or changing ourselves, oh, this is too hard. It's not, universe doesn't want it for me. I guess it's just, there's no logic in how we think about this. It's just how we're programmed to think about it. Personal development program should work in 7 days. If it doesn't, these guys are scamming you. And there's so many programs that could work great, but your brain isn't ready for it. It just isn't. You're not in alignment with being helped with this yet. So you got to decide who you're going to be. How do you want this program or coaching or whatever it is? How do you want it to help you? If you're not clear, if it's just about solving problems, it's going to be a slow journey.
Yeah, of course, because a person has to change. They can't have less problems, because problems are always going to show up. And a problem's only a problem if you call it a problem, I believe.
That's correct. That's true. And how you feel about it is your choice, and what you do with the info, just like failure, quote unquote. I mean, people quit stuff after a couple of times, not like when they walked until they got it. They drove until they got it. They learned their language till they got it. But here it's like, oh, I tried this business twice and it didn't work. I guess I just quit. Well, that's not how it works. Inventions take sometimes thousands of iterations, right? So you could call it 1,000 failures, but it's just feedback. I'm taking action. I was inspired to take this action, and I took it, and I didn't get the result that I ultimately wanted, but I got some feedback. Now I know what to do. I wouldn't know this if I hadn't taken the action. I absolutely had to take this, and I had to learn this lesson. This guy's calling it a failure. I'm going, thank you very much. Now I know what not to do. That's how it works, but we're not taught that way.
Yeah. I always tell children to celebrate being called a failure. If any kids call them a failure, so celebrate that. It's a great thing. But you learn so much more failing through life than you do winning. And in fact,
it means you're trying. It means you're doing stuff. It means you're in action, as opposed to sitting back and not doing anything for fear of failure.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Now, Bob, there's a little feature on this show here where I ask some kids to come on if they are on, and they would like to ping over some questions to you, if that's okay. So, kids, if you're watching this, feel free to get your questions ready in your mind. I'm going to put the link in the chat just here so you can have a quick go. A question from my point of view is, if you could, I think I already know the answer to this one, but it was going to be, if you could revisit your 11-year-old self. At the risk of answering it for you, it was to, I'd perhaps, in fact, no, I'll let you do that. If you could, let me reframe the question as a bit more intense.
Mm-hmm.
If you could revisit your 11-year-old self, what might you say to him to allow him or motivate him to impact the world?
To impact the world, boy, that kid was not at all interested in that. Um, I mean, look, at 30, I wasn't. I mean, I sidestepped into this. I was a broadcaster and I learned this stuff and I knew how to teach it. And then I got passionate about it. And then The Secret happened and boom, I'm in the industry. But I'm a broadcaster at heart, you know, and I do silly stuff and all of that. But this is a part of who I am and clearly part of why I'm here to, you know, to teach this stuff. 11 years old, that was really oddly about when I started getting in trouble a lot in school for just being myself. Right. So that was that started, like, I started to have to stay after school and get pink slips and these types of things. And that was when I started feeling wrong about being who I was. Right. So I guess if there was anything I could tell him, you know, that there's nothing wrong. This is why this is happening. You know, don't lose this. Don't lose touch with this. Don't make yourself wrong, whatever, because I did have to go through a lot of that untangling because it just got worse, you know, in terms of school until it culminated in this one. I got a reprimand by a teacher I really respected in front of a lot of people. And that shut me down. You know, that was like 8th grade, 9th grade. And after that, it was like, well, I'm not going to express. I'm not going to be funny. I'm not going to do this because I'm going to get in freaking trouble all the time. Right. And so that I had to untangle that for a number of years. The same thing happened again after The Secret, where I got sort of pigeonholed as being Bob Doyle from The Secret. And people expected me to be like Jack Canfield and Bob Proctor and these people who'd been in the industry for 20, 30 years. And I'd been at 3. Right. And so I'm trying to be, you know, like them or whatever. And after a while, I was just like, I'm dying here. You know, I need to find a way to teach this where I can use my creativity, use humor, have fun, because I can't be that guy. Right. And so finally, it took me a few years, but I finally started to do that. And then it became a joy again.
What is it sounds like it was your gift, being able to express yourself and be funny. And
I guess so. I mean, I'm never one to say I'm funny. You know, I want people to think that at the right time, but I don't go around saying, oh, I'm this funny guy. But obviously, but humor is one of those things that was always part of who I was as a kid. Used it as, I'm sure, a defense mechanism a lot and all of that. And I know that I enjoy learning from somebody who makes me smile and laugh more than is being very serious. I think I'm going to reach the people I want to reach more if I am affable and when we have fun and you don't take it so freaking seriously, because a lot of people do. And if you understand that I'm so serious about this brings a vibe to it where, okay, well, your entire journey is going to feel serious. I'm working on myself. This is and I see that. And that doesn't look like fun to me. These people who have been working on themselves for 20 years and I'm so spiritual, but I've still got this scowl on my face and I'm just waiting. I know the universe any minute is going to deliver because they don't know how to feel joy right now.
Yeah. And enjoy the journey. That's one of the huge things for me.
It is what it's about. It is what it's about. It is not about that vision you have, that passion you have is there to pull you through life experience. The whole journey. You're going for that because you think it's going to make you feel a certain way. But then there's also this entire ride that you have to take and the learning and the people you'll meet and the relationships you'll form if you'll just stay present and appreciate them. But too many people are just, they miss all that because they're just going there.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Hitting on every single wiring in my head. So apparently we've got Darth Maul, but his name's actually Kieran. Just here, and we've got the change man here. Hey Kieran, how are you, mate?
Good, thanks. I've got my ukulele here.
Good. Kieran, did you have a question for Bubble, buddy?
No.
You have hold on. Stop the presses. I can't believe it. Normally I have a ukulele right here. I am an avid ukulele player. I've been playing for 10 years. It is my favorite way to change my state. It's the greatest thing ever. Did you know that?
I just enjoy playing it.
But do you just happen to have the ukulele? You didn't know I played?
No, I actually didn't. No, I didn't. I just thought I'd get it. I've done like 3 new pieces today.
Come on then.
Nice. The ukulele.
Play all of them.
I could put that in everybody's hand.
Really good.
Oh, look at this.
I got mine from Santa.
You guys having a conversation. I'll be back in a minute, okay?
How long have you been playing the ukulele?
Ever since like Christmas 2 years ago, because I got my ukulele from Santa 2018 Christmas.
How are you teaching yourself?
Well, I'm just watching some YouTube videos, and then I learned a few. I just found some pictures on the internet saying a few chords, but then I've learned a few Christmas songs just today because I felt like doing it today.
Oh,
Hey!
for crying out
The
loud!
ukulele party.
This is awesome.
What are the chances?
100%, apparently.
Well, actually,
Also,
G7.
like one of the Disney songs, Lava, from that short Lava. You know that one?
Yep.
I learned that one. It was very fun to learn. I watched the short a few days ago and went, that's all on ukulele. I'm getting good on my ukulele, so why don't I watch a tutorial on how to play it? It's the strumming I need to work on. Just the strumming.
I bet you never had this before, Bob, have you?
Nope.
So this is awesome. Darth Maul, did you have any questions? I know you just said no, but has any questions combobulated in your mind at all, or?
No. Don't stop playing the ukulele though.
Don't stop.
Don't stop.
Don't stop. Thank you, Kieran. Kieran, we're going to keep you on board. I'm going to see if Zach has any questions. Zach, are you there, buddy?
Just went
I don't know why you're muted.
Zach has been. Oh, Zach. Oh, we're losing everybody, left, right, and centre.
dropping like flies.
Yeah, dropping like flies.
That's just because the answers were so thorough. There's nothing left to ask.
You've completed it. Well, if anyone else does want to come on, that'd be fantastic. But no worries if not. I just want to say that that was completely random, but who we go with it, don't we, Bob? We go with the flow.
I cannot believe he had a ukulele there at the ready.
At the ready.
And he didn't know that I played. That's because, I mean, I'm telling you, this is a huge passion. I got 9 of them hanging on my bedroom wall.
Whoa.
So, I mean, I'm way into it. So the fact that he just shows up with a uke in his hand and that you have one.
Yeah.
I'm going, okay.
Well, I think this is a sign, as it were, not that we look for signs, that I'm going to start playing again and learn a new skill, because I'm learning some French in lockdown, which is a new skill of mine.
Yeah.
And I am learning, now I'm going to learn the ukulele, so that's absolutely amazing, absolutely fantastic. Normally, Bob, what we do is we have this show at 11 a.m. in the morning over here in the UK, and at the moment it is 5:30, so kids will be doing their own thing, having dinner and stuff, so normally get a few people on, but that's okay, it's absolutely fine. Just to finish a tweaky bit off, in regard to sitting there and wanting to manifest it and all that jazz, belief versus knowing. Yeah. What's the sentence that could help?
Okay, so here's the thing. I think there's a huge difference between belief and knowing, even though it's supposed to be the same thing to the believer.
Yeah.
But I don't believe that's a door. I know it's a door. You know, it's like, I believe that's a door. Yeah, I believe that. And we tend to believe things we can't see, touch, that type of stuff. You know, but otherwise, if we have the evidence, we say we know it. But it's when we get to the state of knowing that this works the way that, you know, everybody says it does, and like the way of science getting rich does. And when you know it works, then you stop thinking about how long it's taking or not taking, or, you know, what it's going to look like or how it has to look. Once you know that when you form the vision, you impregnate it with a lot of emotion and you put it out there, and then you act in alignment with that. When you know that you're going to end up with what you want, then you don't have to worry about it. And then you can stay present. You're not looking around. Where is it? Right? You're enjoying the journey like we talked about before. So, but if you believe, I believe in the law of attraction, I'm telling you, you're always like looking, is this working? Is this working? You're always just like that. It's just a whole different thing. And I think if people are honest about themselves, anything that they say they believe, and it gets into a dicey area, but, you know, it's like, do you believe it or do you know it? Because when it comes to this stuff and how powerfully you're going to show up in the world, if you know something about yourself, who you are, where you're going, if you know that, you're going to show up a lot different than something that you're just kind of, I believe I'm confident. You know what I mean? I believe I can do this, you know.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to say all that and give a huge caveat, because to some people, the word believe means the exact same thing as no. They feel it like other people say no. So it's not across the board, but in general, it's like when people say they want something, right? When they want something in this law of attraction conversation, it generally means you're noticing its absence. And there's this sort of the longing, I want this. It's noticing the absence of it, right? But and when really the idea is you're supposed to be in the feeling of having it now. And so for most people, saying I want something is not great for their vibration. Some people, they know what we mean. You know, I know what I mean when I say I want something. It means that I'm putting my intention on having it, and that's the feeling I'm having it now. And I'm just using the word want because generally people understand that. But you have to be careful about your languaging, and how you talk to yourself is a huge part of this. It indicates what your wiring is.
That's really interesting. In fact, again, that's pushed me a little bit as well now, because I'm very much, I believe the most valuable thing is self-belief. Self-belief is the key to anything. But now you've shaken my tree into it. Maybe it should be called self-knowing, like a self-knowing. Know yourself. Have you come across that?
Yeah. Well, look, here's the thing. You get to decide.
Yeah.
Like many people spend years trying to find themselves. I just want to know why I'm here on this planet. What do you want to do? That's it. That's why. There's no deeper thing than that. I mean, people deny what they are calling to do because they want to find their true calling. That is some whacked spiritual stuff that's out there that keeps people from living their lives that they want to do, because they're always constantly on a journey. There's nothing, we're all on a journey, but we need to enjoy it, right? Enjoy that journey now.
And that's the thing. I've got the analogy. If we were in England and we had a cruise to go down the Mediterranean, and we went to Portsmouth, and then we took the cruise around Mediterranean all the way around and stuff, and had a really, really good time. Where's our destination? I say to people, and they say, well, the Mediterranean, wherever we go. And I'm like, well, no, the destination is Portsmouth again, isn't it? Because you started there, and then there's a destination. You've got to enjoy the experience. You've got to enjoy I say got to be very forceful, but
I demand that you enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
Right?
Smile, you.
Yeah. Smile. Yeah, because that works great.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love to be told to smile? Who doesn't love that?
It's like telling someone to calm down when they're really heated.
Yeah, because that works 100% of the time.
I need to ring my girlfriend after this and apologize. It happened. And that's the thing. So I've got one more question, and it's purely selfish. It's purely selfish.
All right.
And I think I know the answer to this anyway. But if I was to say to somebody, I truly think that you being angry is a choice, being upset is a choice. I believe that. If I was having this conversation with a very close friend of mine who it doesn't believe that, or my mum or my dad or my girlfriend or whatever, at the risk of trying to force them to think my way, which is not very good, slightly arrogant, how would you kind of help me with that scenario?
Well, give me maybe if they got angry about something or whatever, and you're wondering why, I would probably ask them, why does that make you so angry? And then you just drill down. And eventually you're going to get to where they learned to be angry about that. And if you really wanted to coach them, you could point to the fact that they learned it.
Yeah.
And that other people don't get angry at that kind of thing. And why do you suppose that is?
Yeah.
Because there's no truth that it's supposed to be that you need to get angry. So, but you are wired, and then you explain about wiring. And you can teach them, and you learn to walk and your brain grows. There's ways to walk them through it. There's maybe not one sentence that turns it around. That's the thing about this conversation. After The Secret, and I would get on, TV shows, and they've got like 3 minutes for an entire interview, and they want your answer to be in 10 seconds. And they ask why doesn't this work in this situation? Well, number one, that's an unanswerable question without knowing everybody involved and what's going on. It's a process. Coaching is a process, and there's not these quick turnarounds because everybody is unique. So that's why I try to answer your questions as thoroughly as possible so that there's logic behind them. So to walk this person through learning how to not get angry about something, you have to help them understand why they get angry and that it's a choice. But you can't just tell them that right out of the bat.
No. Especially when they're angry. Doesn't work.
That's right. No, because when you're in it, you're in it. Even the most conscious of us, like there's times when, because, you know, I'm all about teaching people that they have a choice in the moment of upset, right? It doesn't feel like it, and it's not easy to stop and learn to get into observation mode, but that's the skill set to acquire. If you want to change your wiring, you must learn to go up. I'm doing it. I'm in program, and you have to be able to elevate. And that's why you need support, because it's virtually impossible to do it without some sort of support, because your wiring is your entire lifetime of wiring. You have to be really, really on top of it, really conscious, and have a really strong reason to get to the other side of this, which you need anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think if I was to speak to myself now, if I was to answer my question, knowing what I know now from this conversation, I would say to myself that don't coach those people. They're not there to be coached. You're there to be a son. You're there to be a boyfriend. You're there to be a friend. Not there to be a coach. And B, if you want that, then you've got to live that. You've got to not be attached to an outcome or have an expectation, and it doesn't work through anger.
Well, to tell someone not to have an expectation and an attachment is so difficult, which is it's absolutely true. I mean, well, look, expectation is one thing. It's attachment to that expectation. I mean, you'll hear expect miracles, expect this, but the thing is, it's when we get attached to exactly how that has to look to, because we're going for a feeling. Period. End of story. We want a feeling. We think the thing, the person, the relationship, the job, the whatever it is going to give us a feeling. So it's not the thing, it's the feeling we want. So if we attach to it must be that thing to give me this feeling, we may not ever get it because we think that's the thing, but the universal intelligence knows way better than we do.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're all at the mercy of our wiring.
Yes, of course. Bob, every single word that you've said that I've resonated with, and I'm not just saying that because it's you, and it's just so true. What I would like to do is rewatch this, digest all of it, and put it into kiddie language, not for the kids, but for me. So I've stolen so much of your time. I just want to say that thank you so much for being here. Now, before we do go away, though, where can people find you?
So I am up to a lot. The sort of hub for me is meetbobdoyle.com.
Okay.
And most of my personal development related stuff is at the top, and then it goes down to the more, entertainment and creative stuff. I have a whole webinar on this wiring conversation that if you want to, it's free, and it's meetbobdoyle.com/rewire.
Yeah.
But Facebook, I'm super easy. You just search Bob Doyle Secret. It's everywhere.
Brilliant. By the way, Megan is a superstar. Megan, thank you so much. Appreciate that. Would you mind writing that in the chat as well for me, please? Thank you very much. And this is from Emma. So enjoy listening today. You've read The Secret, and Emma's going to read it again. So thank you. I appreciate your input. That's amazing. And yes, Emma, Bob is on Instagram as well. So thank you so much today, Bob. I know that it is super early over there for you in Vegas or just on the outside.
No, it's good. I've already done my show and everything. It's 10 o'clock. My day's half over.
What time do you go to sleep or get up?
4.
Wow. That's epic.
I'm an early riser. I get that worm.
You do get the worm. I'm a 5:30 kind of guy, so I think the worm has already been half eaten if I was to live in there.
That's right. There's very little worm left for you.
Hey, order. There we go, guys. So there it is. Tracy's on board. Hey, Tracy. Thank you, Tracy. With an E.
Oh, how nice. Yeah, Tracy with an E.
I spelled your name wrong, Tracy, before. I don't know if I've told you. But without further ado, thank you so much for your time, Bob. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on board. Thank you, Tracy, for setting this up. And thank you, the kids, for watching. Thank you, parents, for watching as well. I've had an absolute blast. And like I said, I'm going to digest all of it and put it into kiddie language for me. So thank you. I hope our paths run into each other in the future, Bob.
I'm sure we will. Thanks, Dale.
Take care, buddy.